Cold wind moved slowly across the open land as Christmas Eve arrived. The sky was dark, and the moon gave a soft white light over the wide plains. The ranch stood alone far from the nearest town. Wooden fences surrounded the land, and old trees stood like quiet guards. Inside the ranch house, a widowed rancher named Tom sat near the fire. He was not young, but not old either. His hair showed a little gray, and his face carried the weight of many quiet years. The house felt empty even though the fire burned strong. Tom had lost his wife 2 winters ago. Since then, every season felt longer. Christmas used to be full of warm voices and gentle laughter. Now it came with silence. He kept the house clean, fed the animals, and worked the land every day. Work helped him sleep at night, but the quiet always returned. On this night, he fixed a simple meal and sat alone at the table. He did not decorate the house. He did not sing songs. He only listened to the wind outside. The fire cracked softly as Tom stared into it. His thoughts moved slowly. He remembered past winters when the house was full of light and warmth. He remembered kind words and shared meals. He pushed those thoughts away and stood up. He added wood to the fire and checked the door locks. Winter nights could be harsh, and wild animals sometimes came close. He wrapped his coat tighter around himself and prepared to rest. Just as he turned away from the door, a sound reached his ears. It was faint but clear. A knock. Not loud, not strong, but careful. Tom froze for a moment. No one ever came to his ranch at night, especially not on Christmas Eve. He listened again. Another knock followed. Slow and gentle. Tom felt his heart beat faster. He moved toward the door and placed his hand on it. He spoke softly, asking who was there. A calm female voice answered from outside. She said she needed shelter from the cold. Her words were polite and steady, though tired. Tom opened the door slowly. Cold air rushed inside, and snow dust moved across the floor. Standing outside were 2 Apache women. They were wrapped in worn blankets and carried small bags. Their faces showed strength and exhaustion. One woman stepped forward. She introduced herself as Lila. Her voice was calm, and her eyes were honest. She explained that they had been traveling and the night had become too cold to continue. Tom studied them carefully. He had lived near Apache land many years ago and knew their customs. He saw no fear in their faces, only need. He stepped aside and invited them in. The women thanked him and entered quietly. Tom closed the door and placed more wood on the fire. The warmth slowly filled the room again. Lila and the other woman, named Nia, stood near the fire. Their hands were cold, and their clothes showed signs of long travel. Tom offered them water and warm food. They accepted with gratitude. As they ate, Tom noticed how respectful they were. They spoke little but shared calm glances with each other. After they finished eating, Lila explained more. She said they were part of a small group moving to safer land. Bad weather had separated them from the others. Night had fallen faster than expected. They saw the ranch light and hoped for kindness. She thanked Tom again for opening his door. Tom nodded and told them they could stay for the night. He prepared blankets and showed them a place near the fire where they could rest. He chose to sleep in the chair as he often did. The house felt different now. The silence was broken, but not in a bad way. The presence of others brought a strange comfort. As the night moved on, the wind grew stronger outside. Snow touched the windows, and the fire burned steady. Lila sat quietly, watching the flames. Tom noticed she seemed thoughtful. He asked if she was worried about her people. She nodded and said she hoped they were safe. Tom told her the storm would pass by morning. His voice carried quiet confidence. They spoke softly for a while. Lila shared small stories about her people and their respect for the land. Tom shared stories of the ranch and how he came to live there. He did not speak of his loss, but Lila seemed to understand without words. There was a shared sense of quiet pain and strength between them. As the fire burned lower, everyone grew tired. Nia fell asleep near the fire, wrapped in a blanket. Lila rested nearby, but her eyes stayed open for some time. Tom sat in his chair, listening to the sounds of the house. He felt something he had not felt in a long time. The house no longer felt empty. Near midnight, the wind outside softened. Snow continued to fall, but the storm had eased. Tom looked at the simple clock on the wall. Christmas had arrived. He wondered how this night would be remembered. He felt a small sense of peace in his chest. Lila finally closed her eyes, trusting the shelter she had found. Tom added one last piece of wood to the fire. The flames rose gently, lighting the room with warmth. He sat back and allowed himself to rest. Outside, the land slept under snow. Inside, strangers shared warmth, safety, and quiet understanding. That night, the ranch was no longer just a place of work and loss. It became a shelter. A place where lives crossed in the cold. A place where Christmas arrived not with gifts or songs, but with kindness and shared warmth. And though Tom did not know it yet, this night would change the path of his life in ways he could not imagine. Morning came slowly to the ranch. Pale light touched the snow outside and rested on the wooden walls. The fire had burned low, leaving only soft warmth in the room. Tom woke first, sitting up straight in his chair. For a moment, he forgot why the house felt different. Then he saw the two women resting near the fire, wrapped in blankets. The memory of the night returned to him, calm and clear. Tom stood quietly so he would not wake them. He moved to the window and looked outside. Snow covered the land in a smooth white layer. The wind had stopped, and the sky looked calm. It was a peaceful Christmas morning, quiet and still. He felt thankful that the storm had passed and that no harm had come to his guests. He went to the small kitchen area and began preparing a simple breakfast. He warmed water, sliced bread, and placed dried meat on a plate. The smell of warm food slowly filled the room. Lila opened her eyes and sat up. She looked around carefully, then smiled softly when she saw Tom. She greeted him with respect and thanked him again for the shelter. Nia soon woke as well, stretching her tired arms. Tom invited them to eat. They sat together at the table, sharing the meal in silence at first. The food was simple, but it was warm and filling. That alone made it special. After breakfast, Lila spoke about the path they had planned to take before the storm. She explained that their group was moving toward land near the river, where winter was easier. Tom listened closely. He knew the land well and understood the dangers of winter travel. He told them the safest routes and warned them about frozen ground and hidden streams. Lila listened with care. She appreciated his knowledge and thanked him for sharing it. She then asked about the ranch. Tom spoke slowly, choosing his words with care. He explained how he and his wife had built the place together, how the land had once been full of hope and plans. He did not speak of sadness directly, but it rested quietly in his voice. Lila nodded as she listened. She did not interrupt. When he finished, she spoke gently. She said loss was something her people understood deeply. She said the land remembered those who walked it and that love did not leave, even when people did. Her words were simple, but they carried weight. Tom felt them settle in his heart. Later that morning, Tom went outside to tend to the animals. Lila and Nia offered to help. Tom hesitated at first, but then agreed. Together they walked through the snow to the barn. The animals were calm and healthy. Lila moved with quiet confidence, showing respect to every living thing she touched. Tom noticed this and felt a growing sense of trust. As they worked, Tom asked more about Lila and Nia. Lila explained that they were sisters by bond, not by blood. They had grown up together and faced many hard seasons. Nia spoke little, but when she did, her words were thoughtful. She shared stories of long journeys and lessons learned from elders. The work passed quickly. The sun rose higher, and the cold softened. When they finished, Tom invited them back inside to warm up. As they walked, Lila stopped and looked across the land. She said the ranch held strong energy. She said it was a place shaped by care and effort. Tom did not fully understand her words, but he felt comforted by them. Inside the house, they sat near the fire again. Tom asked what their plans were now that the storm had passed. Lila said they needed to continue soon to find their group. Time mattered in winter. Tom nodded, but he felt a quiet weight in his chest. The house felt fuller with them there. The silence had changed. Lila noticed his expression. She asked if he was all right. Tom paused before answering. He said the ranch had been very quiet for a long time. He said he had grown used to it, but that did not mean it was easy. Lila listened closely. She told him that paths crossed for a reason. She said kindness was never wasted. As the day moved on, clouds gathered again in the distance. Tom checked the sky and felt concern. Another storm might come before night. He told Lila and Nia that travel could be dangerous if the weather turned. Lila looked at the sky and agreed. She said they might need to stay another night if the clouds grew heavier. Tom felt a mix of relief and worry. He wanted them to be safe, but he also did not want to delay their journey. He suggested they wait until afternoon and decide then. Lila agreed. They spent the hours talking quietly. Tom shared stories of the land in different seasons. Lila shared songs from her people, spoken softly rather than sung. Nia spent time repairing a small tear in her blanket. Tom noticed her careful work and admired her patience. He offered her better cloth, but she smiled and said what she had was enough. Her words reminded Tom of simpler times, when less felt like more. As afternoon came, snow began to fall again. Light at first, then heavier. The wind returned, though not as strong as before. Lila watched through the window and made the decision. They would stay one more night. She thanked Tom again for his kindness and assured him they would not forget it. Tom prepared more food and added extra wood to the fire. The second night felt easier than the first. They were no longer strangers. Trust had grown, quiet and steady. As darkness returned, they shared another meal. This time, there was more conversation. There was even soft laughter, rare and welcome. That night, as the fire burned bright, Tom felt something shift inside him. The pain of loss was still there, but it felt less sharp. The presence of others had opened a door he thought was closed forever. Lila seemed to sense this. She told him that healing often arrived without warning, like guests in the night. When sleep came, it was deeper than before. Outside, snow covered the land once more. Inside, warmth and quiet understanding filled the ranch. Christmas had passed, but its spirit remained. And as the storm whispered against the walls, the paths of 3 lives continued to draw closer, shaping a future none of them had planned, yet all of them were beginning to accept. The third morning came with a softer light. Snow still covered the land, but the sky looked clearer than before. Tom woke early and stepped outside. The air felt cold but calm. He looked across the fields and listened to the quiet. For the first time in many years, the quiet did not feel heavy. It felt gentle. When Tom returned inside, Lila was already awake. She was sitting near the fire, warming her hands. Nia still slept, resting after the long days of travel. Lila greeted Tom with a calm smile. She thanked him again for allowing them to stay another night. Tom nodded and said it was the right thing to do. His voice sounded more certain than before. They shared a simple breakfast together. As they ate, Lila spoke about the direction they needed to take once the weather fully cleared. Tom offered to guide them part of the way. He knew the land well and wanted to make sure they reached their group safely. Lila hesitated at first. She did not want to trouble him. But Tom insisted. He said helping others gave his day's meaning. After breakfast, Nia woke and joined them. She seemed more relaxed now. Her eyes showed trust. She thanked Tom in her own quiet way. The 3 of them talked about the journey ahead. They agreed to wait until the afternoon to see if the weather stayed clear. To pass the time, Tom showed them more of the ranch. They walked slowly across the snow-covered land. Tom pointed out the places where the soil was strongest and where water flowed in warmer seasons. Lila listened carefully. She spoke about how her people read the land through signs others often missed. She showed Tom how certain trees bent with the wind and how animal tracks told stories. Tom found himself learning as much as he was teaching. He felt respect grow deeper with every step. Nia stayed close, observing quietly. At one point, she stopped and knelt near the ground. She pointed to a set of tracks and explained that animals were moving safely. It was a sign that the land was calm again. When they returned to the house, clouds began to thin. Sunlight touched the snow and made it shine. Lila looked toward the horizon and said it might be safe to travel soon. Tom felt both relief and a quiet sadness. He knew their time together was not meant to last forever. Inside the house, Tom gathered supplies for their journey. He gave them food, warm cloth, and a small map he had drawn years ago. Lila accepted the gifts with gratitude. She told him that kindness carried weight and that it would return to him in ways he could not yet see. As afternoon turned toward evening, the weather held steady. Lila said they should leave at first light the next morning. It would give them the best chance to reach their people before nightfall. Tom agreed. That night, the fire burned strong, and the house felt warm and alive. They shared stories once more. Tom spoke about his life before the ranch felt empty. He spoke of hard work, shared dreams, and quiet love. He did not feel the same pain while speaking now. The memories felt like gentle reminders rather than sharp wounds. Lila shared stories of her people, of elders who guided them, and of the importance of balance. She spoke about strength and patience. Nia added small details, moments of humor and wisdom. Tom listened closely, feeling honored to hear these stories. As night deepened, a sense of calm settled over them. Tom realized that this meeting had changed him. He no longer felt like a man only waiting for days to pass. He felt like someone standing at the beginning of something new, even if he did not know what it was yet. Before sleep, Lila spoke softly to Tom. She told him that loss did not mean the end of purpose. She said some paths closed so others could open. Her words stayed with him as he rested. That night, Tom dreamed of the land in spring. He saw green fields and heard laughter carried by the wind. When he woke, the feeling stayed with him. Morning came clear and cold. The sky was bright, and the snow had hardened underfoot. It was time to leave. Tom prepared the supplies and helped Lila and Nia pack their belongings. The moment felt heavy but peaceful. Before they stepped outside, Lila turned to Tom. She thanked him for more than shelter. She thanked him for trust. She said that what he gave them would not be forgotten. Tom nodded, unable to find many words. They walked together across the land, heading toward the open plains. Tom led the way, showing safe paths and avoiding hidden dangers. They spoke little, letting the land guide them. After some time, they reached a point where the path split. Beyond that place, Lila knew the way well. Tom stopped and faced them. He felt the weight of the moment settle in his chest. Lila stepped forward and placed her hand over her heart in a sign of respect. Nia did the same. Tom returned the gesture as best he could. They shared a final look, one filled with understanding and gratitude. As Lila and Nia continued on their path, Tom stood and watched until they became small figures against the white land. When they were gone, he turned back toward the ranch. The walk home felt different from before. The land no longer felt empty. The house no longer felt silent. When Tom reached the door and stepped inside, he felt warmth even without the fire burning strong. He knew the days ahead would still bring challenges. He knew loneliness might return at times. But something inside him had shifted. The ranch was no longer just a place of memories. It was a place of connection. As Tom lit the fire and sat down, he looked around the room. He realized that opening his door on Christmas Eve had opened something inside him as well. And though the path ahead was still unknown, he felt ready to walk it. The land rested quietly outside, holding the marks of many footsteps. Some paths crossed only for a moment, but their impact lasted far longer. And as the fire warmed the room once more, Tom understood that this meeting was not an ending, but a beginning still unfolding.